Look at that gorgeous pond. So we are back at clearly our pond job site where we will be building another beautiful tiny house. And you can see piles and piles of rocks here. If you're wondering, sorry for the disruption in the camera there, I had to jump down elevation. If you're wondering where these came from, it came from our steepest build ever, the steepest lot we've ever taken on. We've been making kind of a series out of that job site location. So if you haven't been to our channel, check that out. It's insane. It's thrown so many curveballs and challenges at us at that steep job site location. But it brought us these beautiful rocks we were able to haul out. I shouldn't even say rocks, boulders are what these are. They're gigantic. But you just can't buy stuff like that. If you were to go to the store, it's so hard to find something natural like this. And we've got maybe a pile of 50 feet worth here next to the pond. So we were really lucky to get those and use those at this location. There's another pile on the other side of the pond here, a big stack there. So right now we're here staking out amenities. We're trying to figure out what all we can put here overlooking the water. And we've got tons of ideas in mind. And I'm going to give you some insider information, sneak peek that hasn't been released yet. We are thinking about a waterfall. So that is why we have all these gigantic boulders here. We are thinking about putting a waterfall and just staked all of that out where it would come down, trickle down with gravity into the pond, and then we would have a pump to circulate and bring it back up. So that way, a lot of location of this, but there are a lot of components into that. So we are staking everything out now to see if we can fit everything that we look here. So right now I staked out for a waterfall. Another consideration right here, kind of underneath this rock pile, would be a sauna, like a small barrel sauna. And of course, here in the Smoky Mountains, how can you visit a tiny house or a rental without a fire pit area? So that's the final set of markers here, but that comes with its own obstacles because we have to be 15 feet away from any compatible surface when building in the county. So that means 15 feet away from our house seat here. You can see where the guy started digging the foot. 15 feet away from the house seat. And then of course I had just mentioned our sauna area over here. That means 15 feet away from the sauna area also. So let me give you another point of view here where the fire pit area would be if we move forward with it, and how it would be overlooking the pond. So there's our point of view. I am standing, let me get more in the center. I'm standing in what would be the center of this proposed fire pit area. But the other obstacle is that you have to think of your final grade. Where will your final grade sit? So we're looking at kind of down at this elevation if we were to do the fire pit area here. And we need how we want to cut that area into this hillside. So this is a steep hillside, which means we have to anticipate a wing wall for the fire pit area. Whether we cut the pad in all the way down to what will be final grade, or whether we even raise it up a bit to level the space, we're still going to end up with some sort of wing wall back here to support that and retain the dirt behind it that's at a higher elevation. And then if we do have it on the higher elevation, look the pond, the other consideration would be the elevation difference from here to where I'm standing. So that means an expense building stairs. We have to have some sort of stairs to get onto this fire pit area. So all things to keep in mind when planning out details like this, because you could really rack up thousands to tens of thousands if you don't know what you're doing and you think, hey, this would be a great idea. I would like to have that there, but you might not realize how many expenses you're getting into just to do that. And it's always important to have your resources involved to quote all of that for you. So that's what I'm here staking out, trying compliant. And as I mentioned, we do have 15 feet off of combustible surface with the fire pit area. So that was really the big component. We knew the waterfall had to be somewhere where it could trickle into the pond. So we knew it could only go on this end, but our property line is about right there. Yeah, that's the corner there. So we have a 10-foot setback off the property line. So that meant this is really the only place this waterfall could go. And then, of course, we had our other two components of the fire pit area and sauna. So we had to figure out how we could arrange those in a way that made sense. So that, again, is what I am doing here, is taking that all out. And we can make it work. The question would just be, what will the expenses look like? So another angle there. And now I'm panning across to our house seat. So another component, if you haven't seen this video, I go more in depth with this. We have a creek over here, and it's really important to know your zoning regulations. At this specific location, we have to stay 10 feet off of that creek because the setback is 2 times the width of the creek measured from bank to bank. Our creek measures 5 feet. That means our setback is 10. So we had to keep the house, including overhang, so including the roof overhang, 10 feet off of that creek. And it's hard to give you a good visual. It's a little dry today, the creek is, but you can still kind of see it there. And then you could see where they had to make some deep cuts here for the footings. So this soil type hasn't really been ideal, which means they're having to dig deeper. And as usual, we have an engineer overseeing this process. Anytime we're digging footings, building on piers, the engineer is overseeing this process, ensuring that everything is done the way it needs to be. So we're actually going to have to raise the house up even taller just to get that view. And you see where I'm standing, you can't even really see the pond. So let me walk up in elevation. Okay, now we have a beautiful pond. But that's the perfect point of view to show you that elevation difference here. In order to achieve that view of the pond, you have to raise the house up, and that's important to know before you send your foundation guys home. They come here, they build it. If it's not tall enough, if those piers aren't tall enough, we're not going to achieve the view. That was essentially the whole point of the. So we have to dig deep because of the soil condition. We're going to have to raise the piers up, and then excavation will add back some of that back in. So some of the piers are actually going to end up sitting underground. That was the most structurally sound way to do it with soil conditions. Again, things that really make a difference in the end. If you didn't get those piers tall enough, then you wouldn't end up getting a beautiful view of the pond. So all of the little details we take into consideration, plan out, and especially budget for before we're actually doing a build. Getting down in our house so you can see some of our footings here. And our digging individual footings here, we will have individual piers. Again, that's a call that our engineer makes. If he wants strip footings or continuous footing, meaning one big box, then that's what we would do. We're just digging individual piers. So you could see pretty big, and some obviously filling up with water. And this is probably a 4-foot cut. Yeah, I'd say walking up to it at my height, I'd say about a 4-foot cut here. And again, all you see is dirt. You can't even see the pond. Another component here, and we're trying desperately to save this tree. We have footing right here by this tree. We knew we wanted to save the tree. It's healthy. It's wintertime right now, so it kind of looks dead. But we knew we want to save that tree, but the components we were up against were the creek setback. We can't go any further that way. And then the dike that supports the pond. So we could not go any further this way with the house. So this was the best place to put it, to overlook the pond and hopefully not take down any large trees we'd like to keep. So this one is still debatable. Stay tuned to find out if we keep the tree. And we're trying like heck to do it. So stay tuned to find out if that happens. Right now, I'd say they cut into the root system a little bit here, but these trees are resilient, and a lot of that root system may even be deeper than that. So they'll assess those conditions and decide if that's something that we could leave there. So again, another point of view, the pond is up ahead, the creek is to my right, and then this is our driveway. It's a long one. You could see the machine all the way at the end here. So we will have a turnaround going in roughly about right here on the other side of that large tree we're trying to save. Roughly about right here will be the turnaround. And then you see this side of the house here will be our 4-foot deck. And then